Alright, archery season's officially kicked off for me. I got in a couple hunts this weekend. But before I tell you about those, I want you guys to, if you got some hunting in this weekend yourselves, if you saw some deer, if you want to comment on some of the deer activity you were seeing, you can put it in the comment section here. If you got a deer and you got some pictures of it and you want to share, email them to me and I'll include them in my next video. Now, I knew there was like a major feed around 5 or 6 o'clock on Saturday, so I wanted to get out to my stand early. First mistake I did was, as soon as I got to my stand, I realized I left my seat at home. So that meant I was going to spend the entire 3+ hours of that hunt just standing the whole time. The other thing that made it particularly difficult is, although I intended to set up in an area where I was going to be shaded morning and afternoon, it turns out the little point I'm on is sticking out just far enough to be in complete direct sunlight all afternoon. So on top of standing the whole time, I'm just being roasted by the sun. Now, how I'm set up here, my main focus that I'm always keeping an eye on is about from 2 o'clock to 9 o'clock in my stand area. This is where I'm really focused on seeing deer come in. And absolutely they can come in from all directions. But it turns out that as I was watching this one area out in front of me, all of a sudden I must have been moving. I heard something behind me start to, run off through the weeds. And I started looking. I didn't see anything, and I didn't hear a deer grunt or blow. So I always have that feeling of like, are you kidding me? The one area I really wasn't paying attention to, the deer is going to come in on. I knew it had to be a deer that came up on that right side. So I looked around, even leaned over a little bit just to look back beyond the trees because it didn't seem like it ran really far. It just scurried through the bush for a little bit. I didn't hear anything run off any further than that, so I didn't know if it was going to come back around. So I kept looking there, and after about a minute or so, over on my left shoulder, I happened to hear something working over there, and as I kept watching that side, sure enough, caught a glimpse of the deer coming in, and I was able to get my camcorder, get that turned on, and turn that in that direction and catch that deer coming in. So it was just cruising through. It seemed like it was just going to circle around me. However, it got spooked on my right side. It's just circling around to the left, moving through the trees there. And as it kept moving across, it's going to come out and cross over the grassy trail that's right out in front of me. And it's really hard to see, and you get an idea of how well camouflaged they are. That grass is so tall, you barely see that deer crossing right in front. If you didn't know it was going to be crossing there, you'd probably miss it. Barely make any noise. Eventually it came out on the other side and started working its way down that grassy area. I just have to assume it was browsing its way along there. Not really doing much. Every now and then it would look up and look back in my direction. So I seemed to feel like it still knew I was there, and it was just a small deer. I didn't really have any intentions of taking a shot at it. Didn't look that big, and it didn't seem to be overly spooked by me, so I just figured I'd keep filming it and just, watch what it did, see what I could learn from its patterns. Now, I mentioned in my last video that I was going to pour a mineral lick across right in that 25-yard spot. Try and go ahead and get those deer to come in and pause for a little bit. I guess it was browsing right up there and, picked up the smell of that mineral lick. And you're going to see here how it just worked out really perfectly. If this was a bigger doe or just a nice buck, this really set up nicely, and probably the easiest shot that I've passed up on ever. So if you're wondering what mineral lick I used, it was Deer Cane's Black Magic, the little gallon liquid, already pre-mixed liquid. So the deer moved on, kept following the grassy trail on the other side, and after a couple minutes of being up there, it started working its way back. Looked like it was just browsing around. Came back across the mineral lick. Once again, another opportunity that it just passed up on. Really wasn't thinking of taking a shot at this deer because it was just so small. Continued on and worked its way into the heavy brush, just browsing some more. So by now it's been about 10 minutes since this deer's been out in front of me. And so now it's cutting through on that funnel point, and I thought, well, if it's going to walk 10 yards right in front of me, I think I'll just try and take a shot and capture it all on video. So I moved the camcorder back to set up for that shot. And I'm going to go back to this view here. So one of the downfalls of trying to self-film your hunts is you get too worried about moving the camera to capture the shot on it, and as I'm moving around here and getting set up for it, I'm just, with no headdress on and gloves, the deer's just picking up my movement and scurries out from the bushes right there, goes up by that tree there. But still, it didn't run far, it just picked up some movement, was uneasy, and as I watched, it was still turning back around and is going to just still come right across in front here. So as it's coming out, I go to draw back, and I'm still up in view of it a little ways, and there's just a little creak, and it hears a noise and goes off running. So it goes back around the way it came in, and I thought about taking a shot, but because I'm drawing back, the camera's not there, it's a small deer. So I just thought it would be best just to let it go by. It was already pretty spooked, and I thought if I mouth grunted at it, it was just going to, go off and bolt out there anyway. So, hindsight of it all, it was probably good to let it go by. As I watch the video, I see a little bit of white on its nose, and I think it was just a little button buck. So, got to let them grow bigger. Here, this is Sunday morning, got back out there. Footage is real grainy, because in low light conditions you just don't get a crisp, clear picture. The camera does try to adjust it so it brightens the picture up so it's in view, but I think it's the same deer comes out. This is back across the way again. It's poking its head in and out, browsing along that far side there, and never really came up and crossed my shooting lane this time. It browsed there for a little bit and then headed back out in the opposite direction of me. So that's how things went for me this opening weekend. A little exciting, nice to have a deer come by. After such a long sit on both those days, I stayed out in the stand until about 11 o'clock. Just saw that one little deer again early at first light. So there's a lot of sitting with nothing really moving about, and little, just disconcerted about the spot and thinking of changing it. And it's kind of leaning that way, especially with the video of that nice 8-point back at my old spot. But on my walk out, there was a lot of fresh tracks through the night. Two of them were distinctly different buck tracks. So the deer are still out there. I think with the heat, they're just not moving really too much during the daytime. Maybe if I can get an afternoon hunt after some rain showers when things cool off, maybe that'll be a good time to do an evening hunt out there. So, and it was just 2 sits, just an evening and a day sit. So you're going to try and be patient, stick it out. I do have a camera out there. I doubt I'll be hunting this week, but we'll see what the camera picks up on what's moving through the area. Anyway, that's it for now. Good luck out there.